Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to the start of Season 3 of our F125 My Team Career Mode. Yes, we are back this weekend in the land down under for the Australian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live yesterday with pre-season testing, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. We didn't see too many driver moves inside this game, but all new liveries, of course, massive injection of cash coming from Cadillac into our team as well. Season 3, I think, is going to be very, very exciting. Of course, an all-new shortened custom calendar as well, ready for this season. Charles Leclerc coming off the back of 2 World Championships as well. Will Ferrari be able to maintain that momentum? Can Leclerc become a 3-time F1 champion as well? As I said, not too many driver moves have gone down this season. Pierre Gasly has left McLaren and gone to Williams. Yuki Tsunoda has replaced him at McLaren, and then Alex Albon has left McLaren to come to us, so kind of a three-way switch there, if you will. And then further down the order, Zach O'Sullivan is going to be making his debut in replacement of Pepe Marti down at VCarb as well. We've got Alpine we've got Audi even joining Formula 1, I should say, in the replacement of Sauber. Like I said, plenty of new liveries as well inside the game as well. I'm finally jumping in and doing some mods for F125. Make sure you get yourself subscribed if you're new. Click that join button as well if you want early access to all of the videos going up on the channel. It just costs just £1 a month, and it's a fantastic way to support us as well then. But without further ado, let's return here to Albert Park. I'm hoping the car is going to be looking quite strong. We've been desperately trying to get some more upgrades in the works behind the scenes as well. But I'm actually starting to run out of R&D inside this game, so just got to be a little bit careful with that as we head into the new campaign. But yeah, without further ado, let's do this thing. Well, without any rule changes then between last season and this one, the car shouldn't feel too different to the one we left at the end of Abu Dhabi.
Wow, that was a
You've got to be joking me. What is Esteban Ocon doing on the exit? So I was literally just going to jump out into free practice just to do a couple of laps, show you guys the new livery. And Esteban Ocon, I mean, we could have maybe broke a bit more, but he should have got off the apex. How on earth have I rolled the car there? That's utterly ridiculous. I guess we'll go head straight into qualifying.
And a warm welcome, everybody. We're here in the heart of Melbourne. It's Albert Park, and it's qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix.
Well, after that rather suboptimal end to free practice then, like I said, was not expecting that, but thinking back, actually, it's not that uncommon that Formula 1 cars end up upside down here at Albert Park. Obviously, George Russell, a couple of years ago, ended up on his side. Fernando Alonso, obviously, back in 2016 as well. And then, of course, back in the early 2000s, some massive crashes as well around this Melbourne circuit. For it only being on the calendar for 20 years or so, it certainly has seen some chaos in its time. But heading into the new campaign, though, obviously, some of you guys might have seen the video I did last week going through and obviously comparing tyre wear on this game and how EA desperately need to fix it. Until they do, I will be running surface tyre wear only, not surface and carcass anymore inside this game, because I don't really want to race with one hand tied behind my back all the time. And, well, it just gets worse and worse as the career mode goes on, so hopefully it's going to make racing a little bit more interesting this season, and hopefully it'll allow us to push on a little bit more. I'm also probably going to do the entire campaign as Isaac Hadjar. I want to see what Alex Albon can do behind the wheel of the other car, kind of left to his own devices, if you will. So, yeah, this is basically now going to be an Isaac Hadjar season, if you will, inside this game then. Out of the final corner, though, I've completely forgot to use battery on this first qualifying run. Not too surprised I ended up last, so we'll try and go for another run. That being said, though, the Cadillac livery does look absolutely beautiful. I don't know whether they're going to go with a red theme IRL or whether they'll more likely go down the yellow route. As always, all the mods used will be linked down in the description. But yeah, this thing looks stunning. Well, I never actually checked if we had enough fuel to get all the way around on 2 qualifying runs, but either way, we are 1.4 seconds up then As funnily, how much of an advantage the ERS can give you inside this game. Out of the final corner though, power back down towards the start-finish line. Hopefully this is going to be a time to see us into Q2. We go P9, that should be a 6th. Well, there we go then, end of Q1. Max Verstappen fastest there on a 1:13.5. These cars are getting ridiculously quick inside this game. Carlos Sainz, obviously McLaren with their new title partnership with MasterCard there, joining him in the front row, the theoretical front row, by the end of that first session there. Bit further down the order though, have we seen any major surprises? Lance Stroll on Aston Martin Honda's first weekend out in Q1. Annoyingly, so is Alexander Albon there, narrowly missing out on making it into Q2. So one of the Cadillacs will be out in that first session. Nico Hülkenberg though, Audi, of course, making their debut this weekend as well, up in P16 there, so he will just squeeze by. I'm hoping, though, that we can reliably make Q3 this season, but we'll wait and see what happens, because we were right on the cusp. We're heading out then into Q2. I think if we want to see Q3, we need to be dipping down into the 1-minute 13s here. That's just how ridiculously quick these cars have become inside this game. They don't have great top-end speed, but their acceleration to get there, as always, is pretty phenomenal, as nice and tidy through Turn 1 and Turn 2. Really just got to try and use the battery everywhere we can. Hulkenberg, brilliant lap time so far to put himself up in P12. Would be nice to see Audi make a bit of a resurgence inside this game. Well, so far they're really quick through the middle sector, and one thing I'm learning is just how much battery we can use around this lap as well now. Obviously where these cars have become so efficient inside this game. Pretty much using it throughout most of the lap whenever we've got our foot full to the throttle. But through the final couple of corners then, purple through that middle sector. So once again, this car looking very quick in a straight line. Carry the speed on the run to the line. 13.9. I said we needed to go sub 114, and that's exactly what we've done. Well, there we are then. We get through into Q3 on the 1-minute 13.9 there. Pierre Gasly, though, looks like he might become the new Alex Albon inside this game, kind of just getting that Williams through into the final session there. But yeah, Norris, you can obviously see that new Ferrari race suit with all of those kind of yellow flicks on it. Looks absolutely fantastic in my opinion. Definitely one of my favourite liveries inside this game so far, but looks like, yeah, well, I don't think we're going to be in the fight for pole or anything like that, but if we could fight, you know, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Esteban Ocon here, we just want to kind of break into those top 5 teams a little bit more reliably, but we've got a couple of sets of tyres ready for Q3, so let's just try and nail it. Well, I don't know if you guys remembered last season here, but the circuit was drying out, and it was basically a question of last car on a run had a golden opportunity to try and get onto pole position. This season, though, it looks like it's the exact opposite. Rain is rolling into the circuit within about the next 5 minutes here, so we've got to try and get on with it as early as we possibly can, because if you can set a lap in full dry conditions, then hopefully we're going to be able to elevate ourselves up the order, maybe spring a bit of a surprise to kickstart the campaign as nice and tidy through those first couple of corners. I mean, this thing, you can get on the throttle so early and kind of springboard out of the corners as well. Ferrari, once again, they look very strong. Red Bull, could Max Verstappen be back in the fight? After quite a few wins at the end of last season, the Dutchman really has kind of reminded everybody that he cannot be discounted in Formula 1 there. It's only 213 miles an hour as we make our way down the back straight. Sainz, a decent first run, but nothing too special as, again, we will go purple through that middle sector there, carry the speed off of the corner, down in towards the final few turns. Max Verstappen on 112.3. That is beyond believable around this circuit. A crazy lap time by the Red Bull, and I will be staggered if anybody else can get anywhere near that. Trying to throw this Cadillac through these final few corners, though, to complete our run. What will the time be by the time we get back towards the line? Can we go quicker than Carlos Sainz? 13.2. We go P3 there, but I'm sure we're going to see loads of AI improve. Well, there we are then. Max Verstappen kicking off this season just like he ended last by proving himself as the dominant driver in Formula 1. Reigning world champion Charles Leclerc will join him on the front row, though, here for the start of the new season, just ahead of George Russell and Lando Norris. Yuki Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri inside your top 6, with Esteban Ocon lining up alongside ourselves. All 3 Frenchmen making it into Q3 here, so a brilliant effort, and happy that we were able to out-qualify Carlos Sainz as well. Let's do this thing though, 29 laps of the Australian Grand Prix coming up. Fingers crossed it stays dry.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. So here we are at Albert Park Circuit, 3.28 miles around, with the streets making for a bumpy surface with little undulation. There are 14 corners around the lake, with the best passing opportunities coming at turn 1 and turn 3. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Norris, Yuki Tsunoda, and Piastri, Ocon, Hadjar, Sainz, and Pierre Gasly, Colapinto, Antonelli, Nico Hulkenberg, and Aaron, Crawford, Lawson, Alex Albon, and Zach O'Sullivan, Doohan, Bortoletto, Stroll, and Ollie Behrman rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Alongside me here in the commentary box today, former racing driver extraordinaire Naomi Schiff. You've got to admire the honesty of our team here. They could try and deny this, but they've been quite brazen in saying, yeah, we are in talks elsewhere.
This is definitely something that's so normal in Formula One. Regardless of whether you actually are planning to change your driver lineup, it's so important to keep conversations going with other drivers. You never know what happens. But at the end of the day, that does cause, a bit of doubt in the current drivers' minds. What are they doing that's not enough, potentially not satisfying the team? Or what can they do better to make sure that they are the one to stay? It's pressure all around, but it's a part of the game.
Well, here we are then down on the grid, ready for the Australian Grand Prix. For the first time ever, Cadillac down at the start lines. Obviously not that long before we're going to see our IRL for them as well. Really, really excited to see how they get on next year, but fascinating. We're only on the grid for round 1 of the season, and already, apparently, we're talking to other drivers. That's the kind of thing Flavio Briatore would do. I'm sure when Jack Doohan sat in the car on the grid in Melbourne, Flavio just gave him a little bit of a nudge in the shoulder and went, yeah, Franco Colapinto's having that seat pretty soon, buddy. So enjoy it whilst you can. We're ready, though, today. Isaac Hadjar on the grid, P8 for the start of the all-new season. Who will come out on top today, though? It's 5 red lights. There's the lights now, and away we go. The Esteban Ocon in that Red Bull getting off to a fairly good start. The MasterCard McLaren of Carlos Sainz. They're trying to have a look down or outside. Oh, in towards Tsunoda in that other McLaren car. They're getting a little bit squeezed out just up in front. There's Sainz there immediately. Will make the move happen then. Can we have a look back to the outside? Oh, in towards turn 3 is a big lock-up coming in from someone. They're around the outside. We will go, though, and willing to get our elbows out at the start of this race. Lando Norris just getting ahead of George Russell as well. Obviously, after their championship decider last season, of course, neither of those two walking away with the crown. It did go once again to Charles Leclerc, who immediately looks to be trying to apply pressure to Verstappen up at the front of the order as well, then, as we try and power our way down the back straight. Just trying to keep the car nicely tucked up in the slipstream there. As Yuki Tsunoda thought about going for a move on Esteban Ocon in front of him there, but will completely ruin his own line off of the corner. Can we attack the other McLaren car? As Oscar Piastri desperately trying to defend from Esteban Ocon. Lots of battles going on at the start of the race, but we are up to P7 then, and maybe P6 as the home hero tries to defend from the Frenchman in towards the final couple of quarters, but he's going to have another Frenchman hot on his heels if he doesn't get on with it there. Ocon has the inside line for that final corner, will make the move work already. Verstappen and Leclerc, though, breaking free up at the front of the order. Piastri, again, trying to have a bit of a look. Back down the inside of Ocon, down at turn 1 there, but hopefully we can get a run off the corner and maybe attack the second Mercedes, man, as, you can see Ocon, tries to go a bit defensive, but we've gone straight on down at turn 3 there. Luckily, kept it out of the gravel, but the Red Bull, the McLaren, both McLaren, sorry, and the Mercedes both immediately making their way back through. Franco Colapinto instantly trying to apply some pressure as well. And just a little mistake early on here as we try and find the limits of grip. What a chaotic lap 1.5. But already then, Carlos Sainz and Esteban Ocon, I think, getting a little bit fed up, stuck behind Yuki Tsunoda early on in this GP. Of course, Carlos Sainz already back with the McLaren team last year. And I think, you know, what do you do if you're McLaren? Do you start playing team orders this early on into the first race of the campaign? I've really got no idea there. As Esteban Ocon again trying to line up a move around the outside of Yuki. Surely can't make that one happen down the end of the back straight. Going to need a bit more straight line speed than that. You can see just how much high-speed downforce we've got in this Caddy at the moment. Nice and early on. The car is working well. As I said, we've got to try and really show these big teams this year, you know, that we can fight the week in, week out. Well, disappointing to see that our teammate Alex Albon not really making in much progress early on here. Has slowly got to that front of that kind of back marker group. But looks like, yeah, some of the cars a little bit further back, spreading out rather quickly there, as Williams, once again, I think are reliably going to be a team that is always trying to pick up the pieces, as long as we can comfortably beat them again in the Constructors. So they're not much of a threat anymore. As well as Sainz there, a little bit slow, a little bit early on the brakes. I don't think was expecting the overtake from myself. I'll be honest, he kind of took me by surprise there. Wasn't really trying to line up the move in the way I did, but an overtake's an overtake. I always love coming back to Australia to kickstart the season. I do think it is the best place to host the first race of a Formula 1 season, but inside F1 25, it very much feels like a NASCAR event or Formula E with the Peloton racing that they got a couple of years ago. At the moment, though, it just looks like George Russell in that lead Mercedes car dropping back into Oscar Piastri's clutches here, but as we get ready to make pit stops then, we've already got to try and make some moves happen. Take the last available grip out of these mediums. As to the inside of Esteban Ocon. A little bit more cool, calm and collected the move that we did on Carlos Sainz a couple of laps ago. But this is a really, really good sign here early on. Not only will we be able to stick with these guys, but we're actually able to overtake them rather than just hang on to them. Making our way then to the end of lap 13 here. These medium tyres have just about held on. Tyre wear warning light has just flashed up. The Cadillac then ready for their first ever pit stop in Formula 1. Make sure we get the car slowed down nice and tidy. There it goes. You see Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell into their pit stalls. Verstappen and Leclerc have also dived in. So Lando Norris currently leading the way. Come on, nice clean tidy stop. Yes, we have. Look at that.
A fantastic stop.
Beautiful.
We were expecting. Pit strategy
love that from the team.
See these tyres through to the end now.
As we're just going to come out. Oh, I could tell Antonelli then was going to turn across my nose as we got back out of the pit lane there. But, of course, yeah, Haas, big American rival this season. So I'm going to make sure that we're getting the better of them. But I love the black livery that they have gone with this season. Rumour mill saying that Toyota could potentially look to obviously buy a majority stake of the organisation as well, which would certainly be interesting down the line. But getting the jump then on Russell and Tsunoda through the pit lane, and we'll get a really nice run as well around the outside of Antonelli there. And hopefully, yeah, we will still claim the DRS as well. Let's see if we could jump Oscar Piastri in this GP and maybe get ourselves up into 4th. Up here, Gasly. Just going to dive out of the way of me there. Sadly, we didn't quite get the DRS off him that time round, but yeah, your top 3 comfortably out in front though. But look at that then, getting the jump on everybody else. So up into P4 then of this GP. I can't remember when the last podium we got. I think it was Singapore last season. We only got 3 podiums over the course of last season's campaign. We'd still need a bit of a miracle for one of those cars in front to break down, but as Verstappen now leading Leclerc and both Ferraris, we are in a pretty good spot. But I'm going to try and be fairly strategic with George Russell then in this Grand Prix as the Mercedes try and have a look down the inside, down at turn 1. Not quite able to pull off that one, but I was hoping that we'd be able to keep the DRS range over Esteban Ocon and just work together for a few laps to pull away from the Red Bull there. So he's still under some pressure from, you know, your Tsunodas, your Sainz's, your Oscar Piastris in this Grand Prix, but we're just trying to ease these hard tyres in quite gently at the moment. Yeah, Yeah, definitely under a lot of pressure from George, though, as all. Got to be careful that we don't get done for track limits there, as I think, yeah, the Mercedes this time round is probably going to fly by me, just going to pull to the right-hand side, let him through. It seems ridiculous to be saying letting someone through at almost 200 miles an hour, but that's exactly what we've done. Russell back up into 4th. Can he close back in on Lando Norris? I've already lost almost 2 seconds since I picked to the Ferrari. But Verstappen, he's going quicker than both of them. Well, I think Charles Leclerc then is running into some slight technical issues at this stage of the Grand Prix, because Norris now has immediately rocked up to the back of his teammate here. So our Ferrari just having some teething issues kick-starting the campaign. We will go back around the outside of George Russell then, and I just want to see whether the gap comes down through this final sector of the lap or not. You can see the gap about 10.3 seconds to Leclerc, so I don't know whether he's struggling or whether this Lando Norris has pulled his finger out and has decided to get on with it a bit more. Either way, yeah, they're both still safely a fair distance in front. As I think, no, we picked up a penalty. Oh, this could be disastrous.
We'll go against our finishing time at the end of the race. Get your head down and let's get it done.
We picked up 2 warnings very early on, but track limits through turn 1 there, brutal inside this game, and clearly the FIA deemed that time round that I've gained an advantage from doing that. I think we would be 3 seconds ahead of Piastri and Carlos Sainz, I believe, in that second McLaren. But that has been an utter disaster unless we can pull away from George, which I'm not optimistic about. We are definitely going quicker than those Ferraris, though. There's Norris, the gap down to 9.5 seconds. And at the moment, we are just praying that either Russell makes a mistake, has a small lock-up, or Ocon can get a run on him somewhere, anywhere in this race. Otherwise, at the moment, these guys, they may as well just sit behind me and get dragged along towards the end of the afternoon. There goes George Russell. Oh, around the outside. As we make a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, we will swoop back around him, though. And suddenly now Ocon has found a way past the Merc. Maybe that was the opportunity we needed. Let's push through these final few corners, then. As those two still go wheel-to-wheel behind. And look at that immediately. The gap opens up to 1.2 seconds, then. Perfect. Exactly what we need. I couldn't have hoped for anything better there. As Ocon will make the move. And instantly, a 1.4 second margin then, as we make our way out the final corner. This is a massive test early on this season as to what the raw pace of this car is like. Whether we can fight with these big teams here, if we can keep this gap or build this gap up. As Ocon, I wonder if he's got a little bit of front wing damage there, because he lost another few tenths down at turn 1. Get confirmation through turn 2 and turn 3. Yes, he has. I think Ocon, he's just dropping a couple of extra tenths at the moment then. That has somehow worked out fantastically for us.
Okay, here's the gap.
Oh, we've got yellows. Someone's breaking down. It's a Ferrari. Don't tell me Leclerc, our reigning world champion, he is out of it. And suddenly the stakes now even higher in the Australian Grand Prix as Leclerc pulls to the wayside. Ferrari, we thought he had some technical issues on that car, but things have gone from bad to worse for Charlie Boy then. The gap to Ocon now up to almost 4 seconds here, so I believe he and Russell or Piastri are really starting to battle it out, but it's Carlos Sainz, MasterCard McLaren. He is still hanging on, less than 2 seconds away. Could he deny us a huge podium to kickstart the Cadillac season? 3 laps to go then of the Australian Grand Prix, and the gap to Carlos Sainz down now to just 1 second here, as it is Zach O'Sullivan that is really struggling. Oh, in that V-carb car there, will slap the wall as we try to get inside his DRS range, but unable to do so. Can he do me a bit of a favour and maybe hold up Sainz by a few tenths of a second, or at the very least, maybe someone else throws. We've got more yellows out. Who now is retiring from this Grand Prix? It's Sainz! Carlos Sainz is out of it! And I was just thinking, how crazy would it be if Sainz retired? We have been gifted yet again in this Grand Prix. Ocon got held up behind him as the MasterCard McLaren car broke down, and both of them have had a bit of a nightmare here. Leclerc's had a nightmare as well. So many top drivers out of this Grand Prix. Surely, with everything being handed to us now, we've got to bring home this podium for Cadillac. Well, there is the stricken McLaren car of Carlos Sainz. So much disappointment for him as his teammate sets a new fastest lap of the day. Looks like Ocon has been held up by Zach O'Sullivan there, so Red Bull will not be too happy about that one either, as the V-car driver just tries to get out of the way of everybody else. But Verstappen, he's trying to carve his way through even more traffic up towards the front of the order, so clearly your top team's still looking as dominant as ever. And I mean, I think it was Imola last season where basically the top 8 drivers all but lapped everybody else in this race as well. There was like a 50-second gap from 8th down to P9 there, but one more lap to go then. If any team has been able to potentially branch the gap between the big teams and everybody else, surely with just one more lap to go here, it is ourselves, as the gap to Esteban Ocon still just hanging on at 4 seconds at the moment. We cannot make a mistake on this last lap. We have got to stay laser focused here right the way through to the checkered flag. Another track limits warning. If we get another penalty, that is race over, and I will probably cry myself to sleep at the end of today then. But Max Verstappen up at the front of the order, he has reminded everybody, you know, he kept doing it towards the end of last season. He was sending a very ominous message to Mercedes and Ferrari. Yes, the luck, the pace, the consistency hadn't been there all year, but if Red Bull got their act together, the Dutchman was ready to fight. They have given him a car today that is capable of fighting for victory, and he hasn't even fought for victory. He has dominated this afternoon's running. Maybe Leclerc was still going to be able to put up a good challenge had he and Ferrari not ran into some reliability issues of their own. Verstappen, though, out of the final corner, he will claim victory here to kickstart the all-new season. Lando Norris, a well-earned podium for Ferrari as well. Through the final few corners, though, desperately just trying to hang on to our own car here. 3.9 seconds the gap to Ocon. I was never expecting this result coming in, but what a car Cadillac have built us. It is going to be a podium to kickstart the year.
Yes, yes, come on, we're on the podium. Good job this weekend. That's a great drive, thank you.
The checkered flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again because it's victory for Max Verstappen.
And to get a victory at the first race of the season, this might be a sign of things to come. One thing's for sure is that this performance will be giving the team and the driver relief and confidence going into the rest of the season.
It's time to bring out the bubbly and spray it around. It's our podium celebrations. And for those that have missed the Dutch national anthem, fear not. It's back again because Max Verstappen is back on the top step.
Well, there we are then. Max Verstappen 6 seconds clear of Lando Norris come the checkered flag. Like I said, I think had Leclerc not ran into any issues, maybe, just maybe, he could have fought with the Dutchman for victory. But ultimately, I'm not going to complain, because it means Cadillac, in their very first Formula 1 race, we bag a podium there. Lando Norris, a quiet drive to P2 when all is said and done. We finish half a second ahead of Ocon when you factor in that penalty. I'm so happy that it made no difference when all is said and done. I don't genuinely think I've ever driven a car as hard as that inside F1 25. I desperately wanted the result. The team deserve it. All the lads back at the factory. A brilliant way to kickstart the campaign. Oscar Piastri will be out George Russell to P5 when all is said and done. Tsunoda did recover to P7, just ahead of Gasly, Colapinto, and Kimi Antonelli picks up a point for Haas as well to kickstart the season. Nico Hülkenberg, Audi on debut, a best result of P13. They'll be a little bit disappointed with that. There was a lot of hype behind that team heading into the all-new season. Sainz and Leclerc, though, two drivers that failed to see the checkered flag. And what does that do? Of course, Drivers' Championship, exactly the same as our race results, but constructors-wise, they're Red Bull 19 clear of Ferrari as they are tied with Mercedes. Do you guys want me to change the team name over to Cadillac? I tried to do Cadillac 212 Motorsports, but it didn't fit. So I could either go Cadillac, I could either go Cadillac 212, or let me know down in the comments below what you want me to do with it. McLaren and Williams tied on 6 points apiece, a little bit further behind. Like I said, my goal this year is just to try and beat McLaren if we can, and prove that we are a force to be reckoned with the top teams as well there. Haas, an all-important point on the board, just ahead of Aston Martin. Audi in P9, ahead of Alpine and VCarb there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like. Get yourself subscribed. We'll be back very soon, ready for the Japanese Grand Prix. Boy, oh boy, what a race to start the all-new season.